Hi there, I'm Emiliano Caballero. I'm a mixer, producer, and engineer based in Los Angeles, California. In this video today, I will show you what I do in order to preserve and increase the headroom of my mix without thinning it out the entire track and maintaining a good solid low end. In this case, I'm working with a track that I co-wrote, produced, played the instruments, and mixed called Into You by my own project called Zelmar. It's a pop rock, basically acoustic drums and electronic drums, and with synthesizers, electric guitars, and a bunch of other organic instruments. In this case, I want to focus in the acoustics and the 808 drums. Of course, we always get a lot of low-end information. That could be good in certain things, and in other times or other situations, that could be something that is detriment to our overall headroom, how much dynamic there is in the stereo bus, how punchy the track is. You have to, I think, pick your battles, and you have to always pick your characters in your story. I'm talking as if this will be a book, a play, a movie, you name it. In this song, the low end is going to be carried by mostly the bass, sub bass, and at times the drums. I say at times because, for example, in the intro of the song that I'll play for you, there is no bass guitar. Okay, so in cases like that, you still need a bit of low end, and most of the time that low end will come from the rhythm section. Let me play you the first verse of the song that has no real or any played bass on it.
Can't get enough of you now. You turn up the heat some more. Can't help myself when I'm with you. But no matter what I do, no, you make me feel like a fool. I'm powerless when I'm with you.
As you can tell, there's only a few notes of low end. There is just this bass guitar that I'll show you right here that is just playing the riff. And it's quite a mid-range sound. It acts as a guitar filling out that space, but there is not a lot of sub on it. And that's a conscious move because I don't want to reveal the entire frequency spectrum yet. I want to wait to the chorus to really fully explode and give the listener that uplifting sensation. So I'll keep my sub in my pocket without giving it away. In this case, the drums carry as well some low-end information, especially there's what I call the 808 drums in the first verse. There is these 808 drums, and there is what I call the acoustic drums. Mixing 808s is a very, let's say, intense topic. There's a bunch of videos. There's a lot of people talking about it, and everyone has their own way to do it. In this video, I'll show you my way of approaching it and how I look at it. Here's a simple move that I like to make. So we have these 808 drums in this bus, okay? That we call it 808 kit. I'll play you just these 808 drums to have a feel of how much low end there is on it. As you can tell, there's a kick drum that is pretty heavy-handed in terms of low end. We have to be aware of how much or how many instruments are adding that sub really low end to the mix at certain times, and be conscious about how much, let's say, space we're eating in our headroom. I kind of grew up in the analog console world where basically the mixing console is using voltage as a basically that's your audio signal. More often than not, you have to be aware of the headroom limitations, actually electronic physical limitations of that given mixing desk, how much voltage you are actually sending to the stereo bus or summing mixing amplifier of that desk. Of course, due to the psychoacoustics, Fletcher and Monson curves, our hearing hears, let's say, low end in a less pronounced way than the mid-range. In other words, in order to achieve the same loudness in the mid-range and in the low end, you need more amplitude in the low end. You will find all kinds of information in the internet about it, the Fletcher-Monson cues. I will encourage you to go read and study and know about it. Very interesting to know about psychoacoustics, how our hearing works. Is very, very interesting and insightful topic. In this case, I want to show you how to gain a few, let's say, a few dBs, or shave off some of that excessive low end that is eating up our headroom, and kind of taking care of that extra voltage, if that makes sense. I imagine like we're in a mixing desk in here. We're in Pro Tools, so we think about in the box setup. It's as simple as I have my 808 drum kit here. It's called 808 kit, and I put a simple 7-band EQ from Pro Tools. Let's see what's the level of our master, basically, that this kick is going to, and let's see how can we increase the headroom in this case. I'm just gonna play one hit of the kick drum to like get a peak level of that. So it lives around 13 minus 13.9 dBFS. Let's get rid of this high pass filter at 6 dB per octave in 50 hertz. See what happens. Clearing out the read metering. So we gain about 0.6 dB of headroom in this case. And you might say, like, is that even noticeable? The answer is yes. Like every little half dB, quarter of dB that we can gain in order to be one, let's say, more dynamic, more punchy, to achieve the artistic aesthetic of the sound of the music we are mixing. It's not about being the loudest, being the most distorted, being the most mid-rangey. It's, for me, in my opinion, is trying to represent the artistic direction of the song and the artist in the best possible way. In this case, by shoving off this information from the like low heavy kick drum, maybe we can give that space away to the sub bass, to the bass guitar and the chorus, and make sure our stereo processing, which in this case is not much, but in this, basically in this mixing situation that I mix this track in, it always helps to the compressors to breathe more and to have more headroom, to not stack all the really deep sub bass frequencies with it. If we will be in the analog domain, probably we'll even be more careful about it, because, well, analog equipment sometimes headroom, we have to be more careful about it than in plugins. That's another topic by itself. Some other analog hardware distorts in a different way. The total harmonic distortion changes, and so on. This is a very simple move, and I'll illustrate this move as well with the acoustic drum kit. We can find it right here. Let's solo this bus. As you can see, all these acoustic drum kits are going to this bus called drums, and we have a similar EQ in there. And we're going to do the same thing. We're going to look at the peak meter for the first hit of the drums and see when we take out the EQ, what happens. So it leaves this first kick hit, it leaves around minus 4 dBFS in the master fader. Let's get rid of this high pass filter around 54 hertz. So we gain 1.9 dB more or less. If we start realizing that by every small EQ move that we make, we can make a more punchy, fuller mix with more headroom, that we don't have to like squeeze everything in, that our mix pass compressors are not overworking too hard and ducking the vocal when a sub kicks in, which is, you can avoid sometimes that using a sidechain filter in the compressor, but there is no free cake. Having the cake, eating it too, when it comes to like the printing that mix. If the mix has too much sub, when you're playing it back, that headroom will, like lack of headroom in other words, or that extra sub information that might not be the best for your music. Or yes, again, this is art, this is music. There is no one way to do things. It's whatever like works for you, whatever feels good to you, and that given moment. Either if you are the songwriter, the producer, the mixer, you name it. Let's not forget we're making art and we're making music to evoke emotions. Okay, so always, as I like to always remember, it's always about the music. This is just like tools for it. We will be. I can't remember where I heard this said as like studios and musicians and everything without an artist are just like rooms sitting in silence. So let's keep that in mind. As you can see, very simple EQ move. Of course, the frequency, the cutoff, you can always listen to the material, listen to it in context. Let's put the song in context and see if you can tell the difference.
What you done to me to mess up my mind? And don't you dare give me those eyes. What you done to me to mess up my mind? And don't you dare give me those eyes. What you done to me to mess up my
Very subtle, almost unnoticeable, but you gain a bit of voltage, a bit of headroom. You start clearing up space. This is a double-edged sword in that way because there is a risk if you don't have a proper listening environment, if you don't have experience enough to make thin mixes. In this case, I will always recommend first, trust your intuition and common sense, and second, always reference. Have your reference mixes, the tracks that you love from Spotify or whatever medium you listen to the music to, and just make sure that you're kind of like in the ballpark of where you're gonna go. It's good always to put like a flagpole, a benchmark of okay, this is what I want, rather than just like trying to guess. Especially when using headphones, be very aware that the frequency response, especially in the sub frequencies, might not be ideal. So again, when doing this work, make sure your listening environment is as ideal as you can have, ideally with a sub and a calibrated room and speaker system environment. Make sure that whatever you are doing to the mix, meaning EQ wise, compression wise, makes sense from an artistic point of view, feels good with the music. I would say that's pretty much it. Like it's a very simple move. There's not really magic on it. It's just like making sure that we want to feature the frequency ranges and think about frequency ranges or like an instrument, like where would you like to your guitar to live in if it's playing an A chord all the time in the fret 5. Everything relates to frequencies, notes. That's basically the key of this is maintaining the vision for the music while trying to like represent the verse version for it. Again, you can do this in any instrument. I do it in drums here because most of the time drums, electronic drums in particular, they carry the most sub frequencies. But as well, be aware on your recordings of let's say a 50 or 60 hertz hum. Be aware of all the extra noise that your analog recordings might catch. Be aware of like maybe in acoustic guitars, all this extra rumble that might or might not be good for that song. Some songs ask for it, some songs not. There comes your experience, your common sense, your taste, and overall, like how you hear music to decide what's better for you. This is something you can do in all the tracks you want, vocals, guitars, pianos. You can basically use any other plugin or the DAW plugin that if you're working in Studio One, in Ableton, you name it, it all comes down to using a high pass filter. That's all for today. If you have any questions, if you have any comments, please leave it in the comment section. Thank you for watching.